Okay, welcome to our channel once again. This is the last of the EV charging videos. Today, we're just basically focusing on the cost of charging your vehicle, your electric vehicle, and the inequality, um, you know, that exists, as in whether you are charging your vehicle at home. That is for people that are wealthy, that have, drives that can charge their car directly at home, or if you're charging your car, your vehicle by the roadside, or if you're charging at a filling station on one of these rapid charging points, say in Shell or Instavolt. So just to give you an idea of the price differences, it is huge, and I'm going to demonstrate it. And we've talked about it in the previous videos, but we're going to demonstrate the price differences and to find out why there should be such a wide range in terms of the cost of you charging your electric vehicle. So I'm just going to go straight. So here you see these are obviously electric vehicles and the different types of charging points. Okay, we will go straight into ZapMap. So ZapMap is an app that you can download that gives all the electric charging points within the UK. And so if you're on a journey, because obviously these vehicles are doing on average about 250 miles on a full battery, if you're doing a journey from the south to the north, you have to use ZapMap. And ZapMap will basically give you, you can plan a route, and then it will give you the various points that you can reach on your journey. Then also it will tell you the number of charging points available. It will tell you if these charging points are in use, because the worst thing that can happen to you is that you go to a charging point and you've probably got just about 10 or 15 miles on your battery, and then maybe that point where you go to the EV charging is not working. Or you may get there and find out that it's just one point, it's just one charging point, and that charging point may be in use. Typically, it takes about an hour and a half for any average person to charge their vehicle. And so if you get there and somebody has just started charging, then that means you may spend nearly 3 hours to get your vehicle to some sort of a decent charge. But if you use that map, you will be able to, it will be able to tell you if these charging points are in use, and also the number of charging points that may be available. It will also give you an idea of the cost of you charging your vehicle. So I put together some figures on Excel just to demonstrate to you if you're charging at a certain, let's say on a full battery, at a 70 kilowatt full battery vehicle, the variation of cost that there is, and to demonstrate to you the seriousness of this matter. If you're new to the channel, remember to like our videos, share, subscribe to the channel. But I'm more interested in hearing from you. We want to know what your opinion is in relations to charging electric vehicles. So this is a little a spreadsheet that I put together here. I think if you bear with me a minute, maybe this thing will kind of zoom into it. At the moment, it's gone a bit blurry. Let me go back in here and then say come back to see if that will make it work. Okay, so it works here. Let's go back and see if we can access. Great. Why is that doing? Let me switch this. No, that doesn't work. Okay. Okay, good. So here we are. And so the idea is that we are just trying to figure out the cost of you charging your electric vehicle. And so obviously at the top left column, I give you EV charging points and just give you a sort of a high, medium, and low kind of prices. And then we try to work out the price differences per annum, which is on the far right corner of the spreadsheet. So if, those that have the sort of rapid charge and quite expensive, you're looking at places like Shell EV charging point. You're looking at InstaVolt charging points and so many other EV charging points that you may find in filling stations. On average, you are looking at an average price of about 83 pence per kilowatt hour charge, but it can be as high as 95 pence per kilowatt hour. Shell on average may be about 87 or 85 pence per kilowatt hour. And so all the calculation has been based on a 70 kilowatt hour, which we assume that will be a full battery for an average car or an average electric vehicle. So if we should go by a 70 kilowatt full charge battery, when you're paying something like 95 pence on a 70 kilowatt battery or full battery, you will spend about £66.50. So you're basically going to say 70 times 0.95, which will give you £66.50. Because many a times what is actually happening is that you see a lot of private hire people who have that mandatory responsibility to have electric vehicles and doing their work in London. These are probably the users that basically uses these electric charging points the most. So these are the regulars because they need to charge their vehicle on a daily basis to do their work. And so assuming that one is working a full day, it is likely that they may need a 70 kilowatt full battery to work in a day, of which if they should use a rapid charging point, because they are probably relatively poorer and therefore are not in a position to have a drive in their houses. They may live in flats, they may live in apartments, they may live in council estates. And so therefore, they don't have the luxury of having an EV or like an electric point specifically installed at their drive to charge their vehicle. So these people must go out there and use places like Shell, InstaVolt, and other electric charging points in the filling stations to charge their vehicles. So as we see here on a 70 kilowatt battery, full battery on average, they will be spending something like £66.50 or £60.90 or £58.10 per day. And so these are obviously figures computed based on these type of charges, i.e. 95 pence per kilowatt hour, 87 pence per kilowatt hour, or 83 pence per kilowatt hour. These are charges that you're typically going to find at your Shell, InstaVolt, or other EV charging points in the filling stations. And these are rapid charging units, which can sometimes do between 150 kilowatts to 300 kilowatts charge. And so they are rapid charge, so you spend relatively lesser time. On average, if you should spend about an hour 15, you may get to from 0 to a full battery. So if these people are charging on a daily basis, they're spending typically at the top end £66.50 per day. If that is computed in a week, the cost comes up to £399, that is per week. And if this is computed on an annual basis, these people are going to be typically spending £20,784. The monthly rate is £1,729. And so the reality is that if somebody is doing private hire, and these are the people that are using these electric charging points on a daily basis, so if typically they are spending £20,784 per annum just charging their vehicle, then really that is basically it defeats the purpose of the electric vehicle, because the purpose of the electric vehicle, the focus is more on the environment, to have more and more people use these vehicles for environmental purpose, and therefore the cost for charging them should be very reasonable. £20,784 per year is actually worse than a typical petrol or diesel engine, basically filling them up to do your work. Because if you fill up your typical diesel or petrol engine, the £66 may take you 2.5 days, or at least 2 days that you can work with this amount. But potentially a private hire person may use the full battery in a day. And so this is the sort of amount at the top end that they may be paying. Then we go to the next level, which is places like BP Pulse or EDF Rapid Charge or eVolt Network. So typically the prices there could be, BP Pulse typically could be something like 77 pence per kilowatt hour, and these other ones may be 62 or 65 pence per kilowatt hour. How does that translate into cash, or how much is costing your typical private hire the electric vehicle owner? That is going to do something like a 70 kilowatt full charge battery per day. The cost here, we're looking at anything like £53.90, £43.40, or about £45.50. And so typically, if we should use the 53 as the top figure, the weekly amount, that is a person using it for 6 days, is going to be paying about £323.40 per week, which translates to about £16,816.80. And so you can see here on the same 70 kilowatts, somebody is paying 20,000. Then next, obviously, the next level up, they're paying typically about £16,816.80. But on a monthly basis, that translates into £1,401.40. Then you come to level 3. This is where you're looking at things like Tesla, Trojan, or the Lambeth Council on-street charging points. So typically, they are charging there about 43 pence per kilowatt hour. So if you work that against the same 70 kilowatt battery, or that full charge for 70 kilowatt, the cost is typically about £30, which translates to about £30.10 a day. And so once again, if we should go for your typical private hire person, or somebody that uses electric vehicle but then uses them to do sort of long distance journeys per day, they on a full battery will be paying about £30. if they were to go by level 3. Bear in mind that also if you are using a place like Tesla or even BP poles, and probably most of these other charging providers, you may have to subscribe to actually attract these level of prices. Something like a 43 pence for the Tesla one. I know that you have to subscribe for about £8 16 pence per month to be able to attract these charges. And so the problem that you have is that unlike petrol and diesel engines where you can literally just drive into any Shell or Total or BP or Sainsbury's or Tesco or these Total, you can just drive in. When you're trying to charge your electric vehicle to get a good price, these guys wants you to subscribe and pay a monthly subscription fee. So it's a bit like you saying if somebody goes to a Shell to buy fuel, they need to subscribe before you sell them the fuel at a decent price. And so these type of things, governments needs to get involved to find out what these private EV charging providers are doing and try to, look at your typical or your average person and the kind of salary that they are on. Or if they are in business, what kind of a business are they doing? How much money are they earning? And come up with some sort of a unifying price so that the variation is not so huge. And so my advocacy on this EV charging price differential is calling on the government to actually look into this, to sit down with these EV charging providers to come up with a uniform average price that works for people that wants to use the service. Well, they basically don't have a choice but to use them. So anyway, if we should carry on, a typical £30 a day translates into £180 a week, which then translates into 9,391.20 a year and 782.60. So typically, this type of a price where you're spending about 9,391 per annum should be typically the average decent price that the government should be aiming for these EV charging providers to charge. Nothing too much away from these type of figures. About that, the third level, which is the prices that are being charged by Tesla, Trojan, and all these Lambeth council posts at about 43. So really, the typical price of this EV charging for a 70 kilowatt, whether it's a rapid charge or a slow charge, should be there about 43 pence per kilowatt hour, and that will give a decent figure of about 9,309, because typically most people using diesel or petrol vehicles are paying round about this sort of figure at 9,391.20 per year. That is if they are using their vehicles about 6 days in the week. Then you come to the level 4, which is the very lowest. You may find this in some local authority lamppost charging points and also home charging. So typically, these lamppost charging points, these are slow charges. You could be having something like a 33 pence per kilowatt hour or 7 pence per kilowatt hour for a slow charge in your house. So this is where the system favors the wealthy or the rich very much or so much than the people, than the have-nots, because the haves will have the drive and they can have a specific electric charging point installed, which then cost them a lot cheaper on a slow charge. So by the time they wake up in the morning, their vehicles are charged and they are ready to go. But the average guy who doesn't have a drive, and one may be deemed as relatively poorer, will have to be running around to these these places for the rapid charge to actually do their work. And so if we look at the local authorities on the same 70 kilowatt full battery charge, you're looking at a cost of about £27.30, or for the home charge, the slow charge, something like £4.90 per day. And so these are the daily rates. That translates on a weekly basis to about £163.80. That is for a 39 pence per kilowatt hour battery charge, or £29.40 per week for the person with the drive that is charging at home. Once again, if you look at the annual figures, it translates the 39 pence per kilowatt hour for a 70 kilowatt hour battery per day translates to 8,517.60 per year, or 1,528 per year. And so you can see the variation where inequalities are basically so exacerbated in this analysis, because you can see that if you are poor and therefore you cannot have a drive, and you're working probably as a private hire, and you have to use the rapid charging points as say Shell or Instavolt or these other charging points in the filling stations, you're paying £20,000, 784 per annum. And then the guy that is wealthy, that has their drive, he is paying 1,528. This is nothing but insanity. This is madness that really needs to be addressed with urgency. And so if you come to the price differential between the haves and the have-nots that are using electric vehicles, you are going to see that the price difference, as I said before, between the very, very expensive and the very, very cheap. So the expensive is paid by the poor guy who doesn't have a drive, and the lower amount is paid by the wealthy guy who has their drive. The difference, the highest price difference, is about £19,256. So the have not is actually paying 19,256 more than the person that actually have more money to pay. If you go to say the next level between say the Shells and the Instavolts and the sort of BP Pulse or Evolve network, the price difference per annum is a decent nearly £4,000 difference. That is also a lot. But if you come down to the sort of decent average price which is being charged by people, companies like Tesla, Trojan, and these Lambeth street charging points, you are looking at a price difference of 11,392.80. Then if you should come to this sort of local authority Lampo slow charging unit, you're looking at a difference from the top to the bottom on an annual basis of £12,266.40. But the worst situation actually is demonstrated here when you have your drive and you can install a specific charging point for your vehicle. You are on a slow charge, you are paying 7 pence per kilowatt hour. For a 70 kilowatt hour full battery, the difference that the wealthy person is saving £19,256. But unfortunately, the guy at the bottom end of society is picking up that tab, that cost of £19,256. £256. And this is why I am making this video, to highlight this problem and to find out if this issue is an issue that government wants to get involved and to find or address this issue, because it is wrong. It's not going to help anybody. It is damaging. There shouldn't be that level of a price variation for any reason. There shouldn't be. And so this issue needs to be addressed, and this is the purpose of me making this video. Now, if you disagree with me, feel free. Let's see here why this thing, no. Yeah. If you disagree with me, feel free to add your comments. If you think that this is fair to anybody, then add your comments. If you agree with me, and if you have any other issues or ideas that I have not communicated, then put that in the comments, because we all want to see a fairer society. We all want to see a society where people are working and getting value, real value, for the work that they do, because it is a tragedy for anybody to go and work hard, waste hours and hours charging their vehicle, and also waste so much of their income, all because this market of electric vehicle charging is not regulated. There is no control, there is no regulation, and so everybody is charging a price that they want. And if you're driving your vehicle and you've run out of battery, you don't have a choice. You really do not have a choice but to get in there and use these rather expensive charging points. So I will say thank you for watching this video. This is the last series in this electric vehicle charging issues. We're gonna shift our videos next on issues to do with the environment, how we are extracting natural resources, and how these things are impacting global temperatures, and all these issues. Obviously, in recent times, the bushfires in America that has caused a whole lot of problems in Los Angeles, and all these global issues on the environment. So our focus is gonna be next. Our next video is gonna be on that sort of focus, and also we continue to look at issues concerning inequality in the world. So thank you once again for watching our video. Subscribe to the channel, add your comments and your contributions. So these are all EVs and their latest charges. Thank you for watching our video. Have a good night.